Hello, thank you for joining this RS Pro webinar with GR MotoSport. With me today is team owner Brent Gladwin, team manager Jeff Crust, and BSB rider Storm Stacey. We will have the chance to answer some of your questions, so if you want to get through your questions on the right-hand side of the screen, we'll ask those to the guys later. Brent, can you give our viewers an overview of GR MotoSport, the people, and the team's ambitions?
Hi everybody and welcome to the RS Pro webinar, live from Brands Hatch, the last round of the 2020 British Superbike Championship. We're here in the garage. It is a working environment, so you might hear the odd ping in the background because there's other teams working hard for getting ready for the weekend. So GR Motorsport's been going 25 years this year. We've been quite a successful team, always with the ethos of developing young riders. We've got Big Jeff here on my right, who's been friends of mine for far too long. We've got him working here and torturing young Storm and bringing him forward. And we're having a brilliant year with the Stouff Connect Academy and with the Eurocar Parts Superbike team. Storm's done a brilliant year up to now, as everybody knows, scoring his first points at just 17. And a lot of that is to do with how Jeff has managed that side of the team, the mechanics. He's got a great crew and not a bad motorcycle.
Jeff, can you just give the viewers an overview of what your role in the team is?
Yeah. Hi to everybody. My name is Jeff Crust. I'm basically doing the team manager's job within the structure of the team. So I sort of prioritise what I do with Storm as the project goes forward. So I work with the mechanics, the crew chief, the tyre guys, and also with Storm directly. And through a weekend, it's about how we set the bike up to start with, and then also to get Storm ready to start the weekend.
Thanks, Jeff. When working under pressure, how important is it to have the correct tools for the job? Why is RS Pro a good option?
Well, this year, we're using the RS Pro tools, and we have the mechanics that we are working on all the different bikes. So we have two that works on Storm's bike, and then two that work on the Stock 1000. But it's critical that we have the right equipment and the right setup to start our jobs and make sure that we can work on the bikes correctly throughout the weekend. So it's to use the tools from RS Pro is the elite of what we're using. And as I say, the mechanics have to be able to work to the highest of standards.
Thanks for that. And can you just talk me through what the main components you would change on a bike for a race week?
Well, from when we start, we discuss a lot because the bike goes back to the workshop. So we discuss about what the settings is we want to try at the track. And also the fact that Storm now is stepping up race by race. His speeds are going up, where our targets are move. So we have to have a look at the bike and see where we want to set the bike up. But during the race weekend, okay, there's the crashes, which we can't forecast, but the general maintenance, we're going inside the engine, checking gearbox, clutches during the weekend. The main crankshaft and everything else stays the same, but around the chassis areas to change chassis components, as in steering head positions, and also work on the suspension is a crucial part of setting the bike up over the weekend.
Thanks for that. So you mentioned about setup. So how important is telemetry you collect and how do you use it?
Well, to be honest, every time Storm goes out, the telemetry is stored on the bike, so we can't see it as a lifetime. But when the bike comes in, we download it. First thing is my job is to listen to what Storm's saying, because that's the crucial part. He has to try and understand what the bike's telling him and what he wants out of the bike. So I'm listening to that. But in the meantime, we have an electronics guy who's sifting through the data, so I can pick up certain parts of the track and pinpoint those areas. And the telemetry then, or the data then, is used to see what exactly the bike's doing. And to be fair to Storm, even though he's so inexperienced on the superbike, his feedback is coming on leaps and bounds. So generally what he's telling me is what we start to see on the data.
Thank you. Can you give us any insights about what it's like? So you've been in the sport for many, many years. Can you give an insight from when you first started out to what's changed to the modern age?
I think to be honest, the biggest thing is, as I say, when I started out, is that there was no other data and everything like that was not on the bikes, and things have moved on. Do you know what I mean? But what I would say the base side of it is that the racing hasn't changed. Do you know what I mean? So I think the plus points around it, you have more information to get you to a race, but the basic fact is you've got a race at the end of the weekend. So things have changed, and one of the biggest things for me is the fact that doing things like this, you know what I mean, where the media is brought in to see exactly what we do, that was never heard of before. So there's all these type of aspects that promote what the team's doing and how we're doing it.
You touched on it earlier, but what's the main servicing approach when you come to, we first put the bike out of the truck at the race weekend? What's the main things that you're really making sure it's tight, proper, lubricated? What sorts of things is the key areas?
Well, I think you said the main components is obviously the bits that turn in round, so as in your wheels, etc. So, you know, we have a tyre allocation throughout the weekend, so the tyres are changed on a regular basis, so things like chains and things like that have to be maintained. Brakes, obviously, is a very important side of it as well. So it's those typical components that even road bikes have to do it servicing, but we're doing it every time Storm gets on and off the bike.
Thanks, Jim. And Storm, could you give us your experiences over the BSB 2020 season?
It's a bit breathtaking, really. That's why I can't really get my words out. But trying to learn a superbike in a 6-round championship, well, we've got more rounds because the class in every race is a round. But it is hard work, but it's not what it's cracked up to be. You can trim the power out. There's a lot of things you can do. The bike's finished every race apart from the qualifying and stuff at Silverstone where I had an off. It wasn't my fault. But I know what it feels like to crash a superbike now. I've tested the water quite a bit with a few things. It's spat me out the seat a few times. It's told me what the crack is. So we are definitely getting there, and we're on the back of some high names at the minute.
Fantastic. And what's your plans for the final race weekend here at Brands Hatch?
It'd be nice to turn some heads, but consistency is always the way forward.
And just another question for you. If you had the choice between your superbike and your Land Rover, which one would you choose?
Bit of Land Rover. It pulls like a train.
Brilliant. Okay then, guys. We're just waiting for some questions to come through. But first of all, yes, Scott, thank you very much. Scott's wishing you a very merry, happy birthday from all at Brandon High Station. So happy birthday, Brent.
Scott, I think you lot should get back to work.
Okay, so a couple of other questions that I do have here is recurring mechanical failures. How do they happen often? And if they do, how do you engineer them out?
Well, what we do, obviously, say because we've got data collecting off the bike as it's going around the track, is that we analyse all the engine side of it as well. So we're looking at, say, exhaust gas temperatures, power, and gear shift, and everything like that. So we can generally see in like water temperature as well, but we can see if there's any component of the engine starts to fail. And then obviously after the session, or if it goes during the session, then we have to rectify it. So basically what we have, if we have a total engine failure, then we have a spare engine that we can just put into the bike. So that's to the extreme. But if it's some other side of the components like a clutch or a gearbox, it's just a matter of changing the clutch or the gearbox. Now on this engine, the gearbox is a side loading affair, so you don't split the crankcases. You actually just take the clutch off and the side cover off and take the gearbox out that way. So even during the week, we're checking things like that just to make sure that all the components are all right. But generally, run of the mill, I say, is we're checking brakes, etc., all the time, so we can see if we're losing brake pressure or anything like that. So we're monitoring that, so we can see anything before it becomes to a critical level. But all the rest of it is suspension setup. So the Storm goes faster and faster. We have to adapt the bike to the track that's changing. And that's one of the things that we work on all weekend. So every time, say, Storm goes out on the bike, we look at that data. He's increasing his speeds through the mid-corners and exit corners. We have to find grip. Obviously, this time of year, where the ambient temperature's probably 12 or 13, the track temperature probably only gets up to about 19. So it's very cold out there. So we have to work with a bike and also to try and instruct Storm of where we think he might have some issues, and obviously we have to then make the bike suit him.
I think one of the things for everybody to understand when it comes to British Superbike, and in particular the teams that are on the pit row, the Superbike teams are at a very high level at BSB. They will compare with anybody anywhere in the world. And what you can see here, the three of us and the bike and the backdrop, this is nothing to what it actually takes into putting a team together. When you look, we've got 2 articulated trucks, 2 vans. In Storm's little bubble, he's got Jeff in management, Simon Bleasdale on electronics, and we've got Mark Davis and Martin on mechanicals, and Tim just looking after tyres. And then behind those guys, obviously, we've got the catering staff that's got to look after the team. And then the other side, the Staff Fluid Power Academy for the Superstock bike for Danny Sayers, they've got the same setup. And then for Corey on the Moto 3, they've got the same setup. So it's actually quite an effort. And when you look at how much of that is high level, as Jeff's just been describing, each set of those guys use the RS Pro tools to the same level, even though it's in different classes. But it's an important part, the structural planning behind it, as Jeff would say, making sure that all the foundations are right. So you're not looking over your shoulder, you're trying to move forward. So it's really important that the guys out there understand those levels, because when we get here, this is our fun. So when they see the setup and everything, and we go racing with a young lad like Storm, this is our fun. But it takes an awful lot of hard work to achieve that fun.
So you talk about the different setups, and it's similar going throughout the classes. Can you just give me a bit of an overview? So in front of us here, we've got the Superbike. What's the difference between the Superbike and the Superstock?
So this is a Kawasaki ZX-10RR, the latest thing. It's very similar, very, very close to what Johnny's raised, just about to win his next World Championship on. We buy this bike from Kawasaki, but it's the exact same bike as you buy from a dealer. So the ZX-10RR, just repeat that. And it's the limited edition one. Then for the Superstock bike, we do limited changes, suspension, exhaust pipe, a few bits of electronics. And you've got a motorcycle that's probably touching around 50k. With the Superbike for Storm, it's the same bike, but more of a silhouette. So the component changes are quite a lot. We can change petrol tank, suspension, exhaust pipe, engine components, a lot of components like the seat, swinging arm, brakes. But overall, it's the same bike. It's just got better components. And then once you've got your bike put together, that's where your team, where Jeff's team and the other guys, their knowledge is what makes the bike competitive or not. Everybody's got more or less the same components. And then there's that little bit of innovation that we all try to keep secret. You know, like, should we tell anybody else that we're using RS Pro tools? No, we don't want them to catch up with us. So it's that kind of thing.
So you talk about RS Pro, and obviously RS Pro is your tool partner for this season. What do you look for in a tool? Is it quality? Is it value? Choice, longevity, or all?
For me, from my side, taking into account that we've got all these little groups of people working on different bikes, it's important that once we give them a set of tools, they're not coming back to me every 2 minutes saying the bloody thing's broken or it's not doing its job. We've got to also understand that while it's only getting used so many weekends a year, it's getting used intensely. So it's being tested here to the same levels as you would expect in a Haydock Scania's workshop or something like that. And they do get dropped, thrown about, because here we have to react really quickly to a certain situation. So tools aren't being used and wiped immediately. They might get dropped on the floor and then sorted out after. We have to be able to pick that tool up again and use it again. And so it's quite nice to have a great partner like RS Pro, but I can't introduce that partner to the guys without their confidence. So that's where we are with it.
So, Jeff, this might be one for you. So, working under pressure, how do you cope and avoid errors such as over-tightening or missing bolts?
I think one of the things that Brent just sort of started to mention was the fact that you have to be in front of the game. And one of the things where I would say that is that you've got to have the preparation before your bike goes out on the track. Now, if you fail to do that, then a reaction that something might happen on the track hits you flat in the face, and then you have to try and react to it. But if you're not ready behind the scenes, so you haven't got enough components ready, and the guys aren't trained enough into that sort of areas, is then you have these situations of a bit of a panic. And that's something that I really push strongly within any of the guys that work within our team, that we have to be prepared. We don't know what's coming at us during the race weekend because we haven't got a crystal ball. But at that time, when that happens, we have to be experienced and understanding that we've got everything behind us sorted out, so we'll react perfectly in that situation.
I think the other good test with it as well, to bring Storm back into the conversation, is we're working here with this, but obviously Storm's a superbike rider, and generally speaking, they could be classed as, can we take that? Is it ours? So don't forget, he's just built his Land Rover, and he's really proud of that thing. It's one hell of a toy, and he's had to use tools and things to build that, hasn't he? So from the youngsters to the older guys, if they start using the tools, it creates a loyalty in brand as well. You've enjoyed building your Land Rover more than you've riding this on occasions, haven't you? Come on, be honest.
No, I don't know. Just give you some buzz.
When I know that, but when you finished your Land Rover, didn't you ring Jeff and say, "Come and have a look at this"?
Yeah, I did.
To be fair, he hasn't really chosen the Land Rover of the Superbike. Don't worry about that.
Exactly. And how long you own the Land Rover?
I don't know. Brought it just before my 17th.
And how many colours has it been now?
3.
So he's painted it. It's been 3 colours since April, so it's not a bad
We've
thing.
got a few more to go.
I've managed to cut the painting time down to like 2 hours. I can do it in 2 hours.
Storm, staying with you. I've got one here for you. Just been asked, what's your race prep for a weekend? What do you do to get yourself ready to go?
Well, so tomorrow morning, Friday, I'll be up first thing, have my breakfast, which is crucial. Then I'll go over to AGV, get all my helmets prepped, make sure they're not steaming up, get all my tear-offs done so I don't get flies on my visor. Make sure my kit's all clean, set up my office like in the back of the truck where I get my kit on and stuff. And just make sure that everything is how I need it and how I want it, so I don't have any mistakes and nothing goes wrong. Because when you're pushing at that speed, there's nothing you can do about a visor steaming up. You're done. It's your own mistake.
Thanks for that.
Just I'll mention one thing on that. From this afternoon, what me and Storm will do, we'll go and do a track walk. And again, that's to go and have a look at the track, see if it's changed since we were last here, just if there's any patches that have been added and new bits of tarmac, etc. So then that's the first base of just going and having a look at the circuit and seeing what the conditions are like. So Storm's already had a look at that before tomorrow morning. Now, one of the things then that we'll spend time on tonight is explaining how we've set the bike up for this track, so he starts to understand what we're trying to work on, what areas we think that might become an issue for him, because I say he hasn't ridden a superbike here before, so it's all new to Storm. So we have to give him bits of information to try and help him understand what the bike will probably try and react like. Even though we're not riding it, he has to understand these things. So from today, like I say, the track walk, we'll sit him down after the track walk and go through certain information that we need him to know. And then tomorrow he's a bit more advanced of what he's going to expect tomorrow.
So that's really interesting. So you do a walk through the track. If you do see something's changed, like there's been a patch repair or something like that, are you looking to understand how the bike's going to react, or is it more of a case of you might need to miss this big?
Well, that's exactly right. I think, as you just said, it's the fact that if it's an issue, it's going to be an issue. Are we going to run over that part of tarmac, or is it offline that he's not going to worry? Because this circuit gets used for car racing, truck racing, and everything. So there's some areas that Storm won't come across. So in some areas we have to look. So while we're walking around, that's what we're looking at. We're looking at the bike racing line to see if there's any problems.
I say there's one thing that I think a lot of people don't pick up on, but there's a groove around this track for every single bike you ride. There's a different way of riding the circuit, different way of riding a corner. There's bumps on certain corners that you know to dodge. There's bumps on certain corners that you can actually hit, and it'll help you a bit. But there's a line around it, and you need to try and spot it because you need to use it to your advantage.
Brilliant. Brent, go on for you. Just wanting to understand what your ambitions for the future are for the team.
For the team, flipping heck, to stay successful at the moment. Our focus is the ethos still with the youngsters. We're doing a great job with Storm, and looking forward to 2021. We're looking to stay in Superbike with Storm and continue with the Stouff Quick Fluid Power Academy. But our plan for Storm at the moment is scoring points. So points make prizes, as they say, and the team's success is now aimed at this. So if we can take that next step for 2021, where we move Storm into the top 10, then that's a great area. And then moving forward to that, we won't mind nicking the odd podium or 22.
Fantastic. Guys, keep your questions coming in for us. Storm, just on the back of what Brent said there about trying to score some more points, what's it like being the youngest point scorer in BSB?
Yeah, it is good. Well, why am I saying it like that? Yeah, it is really good. But you kind of like, it mainly hits you like when you're behind, say, Josh Brooks or something. You think, that's Josh Brooks. At Donington, I was keeping up with Danny Buchan, and all I could say in my head was, that's Danny Buchan. I'm keeping up with Danny Buchan. And I was consistently keeping up with him. But like me and Brent, our goal this year was to get points, and now we want more. That's the goal. We've reached the goal. Do you stop once you've reached your goal? No, you keep going. So me and Brent, Jeff, we want more. We're hungry.
I think a point just to understand for this year for the viewers, it's the situation at Silverstone when Storm grabbed that point. He really did grab it, and the lap time he did was fantastic for anybody. Never mind a 17-year-old. And Jeff is an absolute, and I'll use the word pervert, after the meeting. He's on the phone to me, saying to me all about the data, and have you seen this lap time? Have you seen that lap time? And did I know this and did I know that? And things from last year to this year have moved on so much that Storm's race time, his 30-lap race time, he would have won the last year 2019 race by around 15, 20 seconds. So that's how fast everybody's going this year. So for Storm to be going that quick is a testament to the team for giving him the equipment and something that he's confident enough to push that hard. And also, you can't take away a level of competition. So for the Tiger here to actually blooming be in there and trying to fight, and it is quite daunting when you're looking, for a 17-year-old lad, as he's just said, oh, that's Danny Buchan or that's Pete Hickman or whatever. And these guys are racing with Storm and they're treating him as one of their competitors, which is just fantastic.
So, Storm, on that, so you're saying you're following these guys, and that must be, I can't even imagine what that must feel like. But, you work closely with Jeff to improve and reach your goals. Is there anything you can pick up from the guys that you're actually following out on track?
Oh, yeah, definitely. When me and Jeff come in, Jeff straight at me like Brent said, he's a pervert. He asked me, like, what's he doing? How's he doing that? I'm thinking, calm down, Jeff. But it's these little things, like, I'll come in and it'll take me a bit to get my head around what they were doing because I'll forget, then I'll remember. But yeah, you can pick up a hell of a lot, like the way Danny would get the bike into the corners and stuff. Some things we need to change on our bike, or some things I've seen on his bike that my bike's not doing. So it's like, well, we've got a positive there. So yeah, I do pick up a lot of things from being behind other riders.
I think you can also see just from this little bit of banter here, calling Jeff the pervert, etc. It's that.
I'm not, by the way.
I've been waiting for him to say that. So now you understand the banter and the loyalty and friendship and camaraderie that's needed for Jeff and his crew to put something together that this young fella is able to say, okay, I can do this. And at moments where he's thinking, can I, can't I? Then the team are able to say, actually, you've got 2 arms, 2 legs and 2 eyes, just like everybody else. So yes, you can. But because there's never been any pressure in the situation for this year, we just wanted, as Storm said, to score 1 point. But of course, competition is competition. So as soon as we got that 1 point, it was fantastic, but we all have ideas that we should have some more. And, you know, at the last meeting at Donington, Storm did an absolutely fantastic job in the wet race of coming through, and he actually grabbed a grid position 15th on the grid, which then put him in the fight for the second race. And in the second race, he was battling with the boys in 10th place and brought home another 3 points. So it's, you know, this kind of stuff bodes well for the future, which also answers a little bit more to what the question was before.
I think if I'll add into that as well, is that when Storm first rode the Superbike, when we took him to Spain to test the bike, is that after 5 days on track of testing a couple of different tracks, we were within about 1.5 seconds of the best of the big SB guys. And I always said to Storms, once we get into that 1.5 second area, we're in the proper area then. So we start to understand a different ball game. And that's one of the things that I said to you earlier, is that Storm has to go to every track he's riding really is a new circuit, because he's riding a Superbike. And like he said, is that there's a different line that you have to use to ride the Superbike. So he's learning all the time. But once you get into that area, Storm then understands the bike in a different way. And that will get us the results that we need. Because, as I say, you're not looking at 3 or 4 seconds, you're down to that 1.5 second.
I say there's a lot of lads out there that you can put on a Superbike and they'll crash their brains out trying to learn it. But the way I see it, if you're crashing your brains out, you're not learning it. It's biting you, and that's it. You've accepted it's bit you. So to me, I just take my time, have a deep breath, accept that I'm at the back at the minute, but we are getting very close to the front, and staying on, you can only learn more.
Brilliant. Just got a couple of questions coming through. So I've got Luke. Hello, Luke. Storm, I'd love to know what your favourite track is on the BSB Tour.
Well, my favourite track has got to probably be Alton Park. It's quite a bit of a handful on the old Superbike. But the one that really makes my season click, and Jeff will agree with me on this, it's Knockhill. It's got to be Knockhill.
Yeah.
What a track.
Looking forward to getting there next year.
Yeah. We're just disappointed we didn't get there this year. Yeah.
What about Brent, Jeff? What's your favourite track?
Mine,
The pub run.
yeah, the run that leaves my house, goes to the pub and then to the fish and chip shop and then back again. My favourite tracks are different, you see, because while I rode them in the past and Jeff rode them in the past, they have changed since our time. Our track
Got tarmac on them now.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, our track favourites are more that how the team is comfortable at the circuit. So the circuits with the good facilities like Brands Arch, etc. But from a viewing point of view, I'd always say that I like Alton because it was the first track I rode round. I like Cadwell because it was the first track I won at. And then I like to go, like at the moment, I haven't been to Knockhill with Storm with the Superbike. We was with him with a Stocker, with a Stock 600 last year. So as the guy said, as much as that's one hell of a place to go to, I can't wait to watch Storm go around there.
Yeah, I think I'll just go back really what Brent said. You know, Alton Park is always a classic. I think Cadwell Park is where all these sort of where they're built within woodland areas because they have different layouts, and so you know, from flat corners to bank corners to uphill and downhill, all them components make it one harder to set a bike up around there, but two more exciting to try and set a bike up there. So when you go to say somewhere like Silverstone, which is flat, is that doesn't give you the like as much attention to detail to make the bike go quick down there. It's the rider then adapts to it quickly. But when we go to say circuits like Alton or Cadwell and Knockhill, you know, it's a very short circuit, up and down. It's got a lot of different components about it. So it's that intrigues me to work with Storm to try and understand where we're going with the bike.
I say like the main thing, like the British like history, like records I've got, like youngest ever BSB winner, youngest point scorer. They're all at Silverstone. That's where I've done all of it. But I'm not too keen on Silverstone. No. It doesn't do anything for me. It's an all right track, but maybe I need to start not liking some tracks.
Great, thanks for the question, Luke. I've got one here. Scott's asking, Brent, what was your first business, please?
My first business was chasing a bald-headed man who does scaffolding in Rotherham. That's actually not right. That's aimed at Scott.
Right.
So,
We obviously know
No.
Scott.
He had
yeah,
a paper round.
yeah.
There you go.
I had a paper round just like you, Scott. No, I think that in the past I did not so bad out of racing, and then we've done quite a bit in property and fish and chip shops. So all sorts of things really.
Brilliant. Okay. I've also had one saying, Brent, what's your race preparation?
My race preparation,
Yeah.
flipping heck. My race
Make
preparation.
sure the food's in the cupboard.
Yeah, my race preparation really is a lot of it is to talk with the sponsors, explain where we're going, organising formally, but not at the moment, organising guests. Sure, as Storms just said, we've got to make sure that the food's in place for the team. We've got to make sure that all the parts are ordered, all the bikes are ready, because everything's done at Sheffield. Then obviously we make a plan for everybody to arrive at the track. I'm always on the phone to Jeff at all sorts of weird times, from early morning to early
Well,
morning.
it's not just Jeff.
No, and yeah, he's we've got to pester all the guys. Whether it's Storm making sure he's ready for we're putting together this thing with you guys. And
I had 5 phone calls on the way here.
and we've got the Vivid Light guys doing their filming thing here, and it's all collate. My job is to look after and collate the sponsors and their needs for what they expect from being involved in a team.
That's brilliant. Guys, I want to say thank you all for joining us today for the RS Pro GR MotoSport webinar. Guys, if you want any more information on what you've seen today, on the right hand side there is a download pack for you to download. Thank you very much, guys. Have a great weekend, and we hope you do really well.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. Thank
Cheers.
you.
Thank you.